I still remember the day everything changed at school. It was just a regular Monday, the kind of day where the teachers pile homework on you and the vending machine eats your last dollar. Nothing felt unusual at first. The hallways were noisy, lockers slamming, kids laughing, and teachers yelling for everyone to get to class. I didn't know then that by lunchtime, I'd be crouched under a desk, shaking so bad my legs went numb. It started in math class. I was sitting in the back row, staring at the clock, waiting for it to move faster. That's when the door opened, and one of the quiet kids in school walked in. Everyone knew him. He never talked much, but he always carried this oversized black backpack, like he was hiding a whole camping trip inside it. He didn't smile, he didn't say a word. He just sat down, slowly unzipped his bag, and pulled something out. At first, nobody breathed. My chest felt like it locked itself shut. I heard someone whisper, "Is that a gun?" That's when everything flipped upside down. My teacher froze, a girl in front of me covered her mouth, and one dude, sitting near the window, got so scared he almost jumped out of his chair. He clutched his stomach and whispered, "Bro, I can't. I'm about to crap myself." Even in that moment, part of me wanted to laugh, but the fear crushed it down. Because if what we thought was true, none of us were getting out of that classroom the same way we came in. The air inside that classroom turned heavy, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Nobody moved. Nobody even dared to blink too fast. All eyes were locked on the kid with the backpack. He had something in his hands, and though I couldn't see it clearly from the back, I knew it wasn't a phone or a notebook. It was black, long enough to stretch across both his hands, and it made my stomach drop straight through the floor. Our teacher, Mr. Daniels, tried to keep his voice calm, but I could hear it shaking when he said, "Why don't you put that away, son?" His hands were trembling, and he was sweating through his shirt. That's when the guy in the front row, the same one who had let out that thunder fart earlier, whispered, "If I die in here, tell my mom I never studied for the quiz." The girl next to him elbowed him so hard he squeaked. But still, nobody laughed. We were all too locked in the moment.
The footsteps stopped right outside. For a moment, silence smothered the room. You could hear the faint buzzing of the lights, the quick breaths of kids trying not to cry, and someone's phone vibrating nonstop inside their backpack. It felt like hours passed in those 30 seconds. My chest hurt from holding my breath, and the sweat on my palms made the floor slippery under my hands. Then, bang! A loud slam shook the door. Someone screamed. Marcus, of course, let out a yelp so high-pitched it could have broken glass. He ducked so fast his head hit the bottom of the desk, and the thunk sound he made almost gave us away. A couple of kids looked at him like, "Bro, if you get us killed, we're haunting you forever." After another pause, the footsteps moved away, slow and heavy again, fading down the hall. But that didn't make us feel safe. If anything, it made us more paranoid. Whoever was out there could come back at any second. Mr. Daniels pressed a finger to his lips, motioning for us to stay silent. My throat itched to cough, but I swallowed it down, terrified the smallest sound would give us away. And through it all, I kept looking at that quiet kid with the backpack. He still had the object in his lap. He wasn't hiding like the rest of us. He was just waiting. Minutes felt like hours. We stayed crouched in the dark, the only light leaking from the small window in the door. Every shadow passing in the hallway made my stomach twist. My legs were cramping under the desk, but I didn't dare move. Nobody wanted to be the one who made a sound. But the strangest thing was how the quiet kid, let's just call him E, never once flinched. While the rest of us were curled up like scared animals, E sat there with that object resting across his lap. His face was blank, no fear, no panic, just calm. It made me more nervous than the footsteps outside. I couldn't stop thinking, Why does he look like he's in control? At one point, a girl near the window whispered, "I think I saw someone run by." Her voice cracked halfway through, and instantly 3 other kids started crying. Mr. Daniels crawled over to calm them, whispering, "Shh, we'll be okay, we'll be okay." But his voice was shaking too, like even he didn't believe the words. Then Marcus, the class clown, whispered way too loud, "If we're all about to die, somebody needs to confess who farted earlier." Half the class turned and glared at him, eyes wide, faces pale. Nobody laughed. I actually wanted to punch him right there, but fear had my fists frozen. It was ridiculous. This boy was trying to joke in the middle of our lives flashing before our eyes.
Just as everyone was silently cursing him, we heard it again. Footsteps. This time closer, heavier, stopping right outside our door. The handle turned. The handle twisted slowly, and for a second, I was sure it was about to turn all the way. My whole body locked up. I could hear someone quietly sobbing in the back of the room, muffled by their own hands. Mr. Daniels crouched even lower, his knuckles white from gripping the chair like it was his only weapon. My heart was pounding so loud I thought whoever was out there could hear it through the door. Then came the knock. 3 sharp bangs against the wood that made the whole door shiver. Someone whimpered, and Marcus actually whispered, "I think I'd peed a little." I wanted to strangle him, but I couldn't even move. That silence after the knock was worse than the noise itself. It stretched on forever, each second stabbing into my chest like a nail. And then, without warning, the person outside tried to force the door open. The lock held, but the door shook violently. Kids screamed. A girl grabbed my arm so hard her nails dug into my skin. Desks rattled. It felt like the whole room was seconds from exploding. But just as suddenly as it started, the shaking stopped. The footsteps faded again, moving down the hall. We stayed frozen, nobody daring to breathe too loud. My legs were tingling from crouching so long, but I didn't care. At that moment, I thought it was over. I thought maybe we'd survived. Then I looked back at E. He was gripping the object tighter now, his eyes fixed on the door, calm but intense. And that's when it hit me. Maybe the danger wasn't just outside the classroom. Maybe it was already inside, with us. The silence after the footsteps faded was almost unbearable. Nobody moved. Nobody even dared whisper. But my eyes stayed locked on E. He was still gripping that thing in his lap, and now I could see it clearer in the dim light. My stomach tightened. It looked too real, too heavy, and the way he held it, like he knew exactly what he was doing, made my skin crawl. Finally, one of the girls broke the silence. Her voice was shaky, but she managed to whisper, "Mr. Daniels, he has a gun." Her words floated through the room like poison. Everyone turned their eyes toward E, and the panic doubled instantly. A couple of kids whimpered. Someone gasped. Marcus actually tried crawling toward the corner, but his shoe squeaked so loud the whole class glared at him again. Mr. Daniels raised his hand slowly, his voice low but steady. "E, listen to me. Put it down, son. Nobody here wants trouble. We're all scared enough already." He spoke like he was trying to calm a wild animal. But E didn't flinch. His eyes didn't even blink. He just kept staring at the door, like he was waiting for something. That calm expression on his face scared me more than the noise in the hallway. I couldn't take my eyes off him. My chest hurt, my throat felt tight, and sweat dripped into my eyes. Then, suddenly, he turned his head and looked straight at me. Our eyes met, and in that moment I was sure of it. If he wanted to, he could end everything right there. When E looked at me, it felt like the whole room disappeared. My chest caved in, my palms were soaked, and I couldn't even breathe. For a second, I thought he was going to raise that thing and point it at me. My whole life flashed in my head. My mom yelling at me to clean my room, the time I fell off my bike in 3rd grade, even that one embarrassing day I tripped on the cafeteria floor.
It was all there, playing at once. Then he stood up. The sound of his chair scraping against the floor made everyone flinch. A couple of kids screamed. Mr. Daniel shouted, "Stay calm, don't move," but his voice cracked halfway through. E lifted the object, gripping it tighter, and every pair of eyes in the room widened with terror. Some kids ducked under desks, others pressed against the wall like it would swallow them whole. Marcus? He actually whispered, "Oh God, this is it. I'm dead. I'm so dead. Somebody better clear my browser history." The tension was unbearable. My ears were ringing, my heart thumping like a drum inside my chest. E looked around the room, his face unreadable, then slowly raised the object higher. A girl near the window started sobbing. Someone muttered a prayer. Then, bang! A sound cracked through the room. Not a gunshot, but a desk tipping over as one of the kids panicked and shoved it too hard. The noise set everyone off. Screams erupted, bodies scrambled, kids knocked into each other, and for a few terrifying seconds, it felt like the whole classroom had turned into chaos. And there he was, E, standing tall in the middle of it all, the object shining faintly in the dark, pointed up toward the ceiling. The room was pure chaos. Kids crying, some praying, some frozen stiff like statues. Mr. Daniels had both hands out, his voice shaking as he begged, "Please, son, just put it down." But E didn't listen. He stood there, calm, steady, holding that thing like it was the most powerful object in the world. Then he moved. Slowly, he lowered it from the ceiling and held it out in front of him. My breath caught in my throat. I was ready for the sound of a gunshot, ready for everything to go black. My legs felt like jelly and I could barely keep myself from passing out. But when he finally tilted it forward, the light hit it differently, and that's when the truth smacked us in the face. It wasn't a real gun. It was a BB gun. A toy. A stupid, fake toy. For a few seconds, nobody spoke. We were all too stunned, too wired with fear to process what just happened. Then Marcus, of all people, broke the silence with a shaky laugh. He laughed so hard tears rolled down his face, and even though nobody else found it funny, the tension cracked a little. A couple of kids chuckled nervously, while others just sat there shaking, too drained to even react. Mr. Daniels stormed forward and snatched it from E's hands, his face red with anger and relief. "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" he barked, his voice trembling. E just stared back blankly, like none of it mattered. And me? I sat there under my desk, my heart still racing, sweat dripping down my forehead, realizing I had just lived through the scariest moment of my life. We thought we were seconds from death, but in the end, it was only a BB gun.